you know, when I'm writing the books, I'm just writing the story that lives in my heart that I really want to tell. And it's just me, the computer, the characters, and I'm not really at that time thinking about the outside readers or anything like that. I'm just really focused on the story. And when I was finished with it, it was, I'd written 7 books before Evermore, and so it was a little bit different of a book. So if anything, I was kind of worried, like, will people read this? Will they accept it? Because it's very different from everything that I wrote before. And so when it went out into the world, and the first day it was out there in the States, it went into a second print run, and by the end of the week, several more, and hit the bestseller list and all these things. It was so unexpected, and it was just, it was hard to explain. I mean, it almost felt surreal. It was just a really dream come true moment. When I was so focused on telling that particular story that it really was all I could think about and all I was concentrating on. And it wasn't until I got to the very end that I said, okay, well, they're immortal. And, really the end kind of felt like the beginning of something more. And so that's when I decided it would become a series. And then when I was writing Blue Moon, that's when I decided exactly how the series would end and how many books, it would take me to get there. Actually, all of my books come from my own life. I take my own life experiences and they find their way, build stories around them, or they'll just kind of find their way in there. So Evermore was based on the grief that I experienced when I lost 3 loved ones in 5 months. And then right after that, my husband was diagnosed with leukemia and I almost lost him too. And it was probably the darkest time in my entire life, and it really made me look at myself and the world and everything differently. It really completely changed my life. And I wanted to explore this idea that it was, as hard as it was to lose my loved ones, would it be better to be immortal? What would be the consequences of that? And so the story was born out of that grief, and it was sort of a way for me to find comfort and make sense of what I'd gone through. So as I was writing Ever's grief, I was still dealing with my grief, and I sort of poured it all into her. And then at the end, as she was learning to accept what had happened, we kind of went on the journey together. I was feeling better about what happened as well. I relate to Ever's grief that she went through at losing her family, but I relate to Riley, and she's kind of the 12-year-old little sister that's kind of follows her big sister around, and she always has something snappy to say, and that was very much me at 12 years old, the way I was with my sister. So. Riley was really fun to write, and because of it, she got a much bigger part than I planned. She was going to be in Evermore, of course, as the ghostly sister that she visits with, but I really thought she would get a much smaller part. But she's kind of a scene stealer, so she just kept kind of showing up, and I just kept letting her because she was so much fun to have around. And so at the end of Evermore, I was very sad when it was time for her to move on, but she had to. And so when my publisher came to me and asked me if I would be interested in writing a series just for Riley, I jumped at the chance because I knew that she had a really strong personality and a really strong voice, and that she had her own adventures and stories to tell. And writing Radiance truly was the most fun I've ever had writing a book. It was just fun from start to finish. Yes, there's a good chance. I was hoping I could make the announcement here, but I'm told I have to delay a couple more weeks. But we're in the final stages of signing a contract with a really major studio. I can't say who until it's official, but they have a really good track record of doing these types of movies, and so I'm hoping that in the next couple weeks I can make an official announcement. Most likely not. Usually an author has very limited input on these things. It's like you sell the right for them to interpret the story, and you can be sort of outside of it. It really depends. depends on the project and the author and a lot of other variables. But I won't be writing a screenplay or anything like that. And I'm so busy with the other books, I can't even imagine that I would have time. I try to, already I'm trying to divorce myself from the idea, you know, it's once you hand it over to Hollywood, they do their interpretation of it, and you know, I believe that they truly do want to make the best project that they can, or else they wouldn't bother. And so, you know, and movies are such a different medium, it's such a different way of telling the story, it can never be exactly the same, it just can't. You can't get inside the head like you can in a book. You know, everything you see has to be told through a picture. So really, I'm curious to see, you know, like who they would cast and how they would do Summerland and scenes like that. I have more books in the Riley series. I finished the second book, Shimmer, and that'll be out in America in March of 2011. And right now I'm working on the third book, Dreamland. And there will be a fourth book to follow that I think is going to be called Whisper. And also I have a brand new series for teenagers that's going to debut in America in 2012. And it's called Soul Seekers. And it's new characters, a new world. It's still going to be supernatural and paranormal. It's going to take place probably in the American Southwest, something like New Mexico probably. And I'm very, very, very excited about this one. Yeah.